The police ordered a woman to open her trunk, unaware that she was secretly recording their conversation. The officer stepped back as Lily reluctantly pulled the lever to open her trunk. Her hands trembled, not from guilt but from sheer uncertainty. Why did they want to see her trunk? She hadn't done anything wrong, or so she thought. As the trunk lid rose, revealing the worn interior filled with a few grocery bags and a child's soccer ball, the officer's expression darkened. "Mum, step out of the car," he ordered, his tone sharp and unyielding. Lily's heart pounded in her chest. "Is something wrong, officer?" she asked, her voice wavering. "Just step out of the vehicle," he repeated, motioning her to move quickly. Swallowing hard, Lily grabbed her phone, the recording still rolling. She stepped onto the pavement, feeling the cold wind bite at her skin. The officer glanced at the trunk again, muttering something into his radio. A second squad car pulled up behind hers, its lights flashing like a silent warning. "Please, I have no idea what's going on," Lily said, her voice cracking under the pressure. "I just need to pick up my kids from school." Ignoring her plea, the officer pointed at her phone. "Are you recording this?" "Yes," she admitted, clutching the device like a lifeline. The officer gave her a look that was equal parts annoyance and something else, nervousness. He leaned closer and lowered his voice. "You might want to keep recording." Confusion gripped Lily. Before she could respond, the officer walked back to the open trunk, pulling out one of the grocery bags. He tipped it over, revealing a pile of small, neatly sealed packages Lily had never seen before. What is that?" she stammered, her head spinning. The officer's jaw tightened as he glared at the contents. "You tell me, Mom." "But I don't," she stopped herself, realizing she was on the brink of panic. Tears welled up in her eyes. How had this gotten into her car? Who could have done this? The other officer, who had arrived moments earlier, approached with a firm yet understanding demeanor. "Lily Harper?" he asked, reading from a small notepad. "Yes," she whispered. "I think you've been set up," he said bluntly. "Do you have any enemies? Anyone who might want to harm you or ruin your life?" Lily's mind raced, her thoughts a chaotic storm. Enemies? No, she was a simple mother, juggling work and family. Yet, the packages told a different story, a story that someone, somewhere, wanted the police to believe. The first officer, the one who had asked her to open the trunk, suddenly softened his stance. "Ma'am, we're going to look into this, but you need to be honest with us. Anything you know could help us figure out what's going on." Lily clung to her phone, her recording still documenting the surreal scene. "I don't know anything. I didn't put those there. I don't even know what they are." The second officer exchanged a glance with his colleague. "We've been tracking a string of cases like this," he said. "Drugs planted in innocent people's cars. Someone's using regular drivers as unwitting couriers." Lily felt faint. "What? Why me?" The first officer shook his head. "We don't know yet. But your recording might be the key to proving your innocence. Don't stop filming, no matter what." A sliver of hope pierced her fear. The officers weren't treating her as a criminal, they believed her, or at least they wanted to believe her. But the nightmare was far from over. Just then, Lily's phone buzzed. A text message popped up on the screen from an unknown number. "Keep quiet, or your kids will pay the price." The blood drained from her face. The officers noticed her reaction instantly. "What is it?" one of them asked. Lily held up her phone, her hands shaking. The message was still there, glaring back at her like a sinister omen. Both officers froze as they read it. "Get her into protective custody," the second officer said urgently, "and find out who sent that message." As the weight of the situation sank in, Lily realized her life would never be the same. Someone had targeted her, someone was watching her. And now, she was caught in a dangerous game she didn't even know she'd been playing. The officers sprang into action, their demeanor shifting from stern investigators to protectors. The second officer, the one who seemed more understanding, spoke calmly but firmly. "Miss Harper, we need to get you somewhere safe immediately." Whoever sent that message is dangerous, and we can't take any chances. But my kids, Lily choked on the words, panic taking over. They're still at school, I need to pick them up. We'll handle that, the first officer interjected. We'll send someone to bring them to a secure location. Right now, your safety is our priority, trust us. Lily hesitated, torn between fear for her own safety and the desperate urge to protect her children. But as the officers guided her back to the squad car, her phone buzzed again. Another message appeared. You think the cops can save you? This isn't over, her breath hitched. She showed the screen to the officers, who exchanged grim looks. The second officer grabbed his radio. Dispatch, this is Unit 742. We've got a situation here, possible cartel involvement. Need immediate trace on a burner number. Also, send backup to West Creek Elementary. 2 minors need protective transport. Lily's knees nearly buckled as she heard the word cartel. This couldn't be real. She wasn't involved in anything illegal. She was a mother, for God's sake. How could her life have spiraled into this nightmare in just a few minutes? The officers placed her in the back of their car and sped off, lights flashing. As they drove, the second officer turned to face her. Miss Harper, I know this is overwhelming, but we need you to think carefully. Have you noticed anything unusual lately? Strange cars near your house, unfamiliar people approaching you, anything at all? Lily's mind raced. She remembered an incident from a few days ago, a man at the grocery store who had lingered near her car, fiddling with his phone. She thought it was odd but brushed it off. Could that have been when it happened? Could he have planted the packages? There was a man at the store, she said, her voice shaking. I didn't think much of it at the time, but he was standing near my car for a while. I thought he was just on his phone. The second officer nodded. That could be a lead. Do you remember what he looked like? Any details? He was wearing a baseball cap, sunglasses, maybe in his 40s? I didn't see much of his face, she replied, frustrated with how little she could recall. It's a start, the officer said, but until we figure this out, you and your kids need to stay under protection. The car screeched to a halt at the station, and Lily was escorted inside. As the officer secured her phone and began tracing the messages, she sat in a small, sterile room, trying to steady her breathing. Every passing second felt like an eternity. Her kids, were they safe? Who was doing this to her, and why? Moments later, the first officer returned, his face grim. The text came from a burner phone, untraceable for now. But we've got units securing your kids as we speak. They'll be safe. A small wave of relief washed over her, but it was short-lived. The officer continued, Miss Harper, I need to be honest with you. This isn't random. Whoever's behind this planned it carefully. They want something from you, or they want to use you. Tears streamed down Lily's face as she whispered, Why me? The officer crouched down to meet her eye level. That's what we're going to find out, but you're not alone in this. We're going to protect you and your family. Before Lily could respond, another officer burst into the room. We've got a hit. Surveillance footage from the grocery store matches her description. The man placed something under her car. Lily's heart sank. It was real. Every terrifying moment was real. The second officer looked at her. This is good news, Miss Harper. It gives us a starting point. But it also means whoever's behind this knows we're closing in. They'll get desperate. Just then, a loud explosion rocked the building. The lights flickered and chaos erupted outside the room. The officer grabbed Lily, pulling her to her feet. We're under attack. Stay close to me. The cartel wasn't just threatening anymore, they were making their move.